ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate The Last Jedi, one joke-filled minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And today we are talking about Minute 5 of The Last Jedi. Minute 5 starts off with Hux telling Poe that he will wipe their scum from the galaxy. And it ends a minute later with Poe, nonetheless, attacking the Dreadnought with his X-Wing. I do like Donald Gleason's bit where I actually laughed out loud where he said, "Can he hear me? He can." Like, I like that he was saying it to someone off screen and you couldn't hear what they were saying. It seemed like such a like a comedy thing to do. Like,
yeah.
Can he can? You know, so I really like that jokey part of it. So
Right.
makes up for the hugs part. But
Well, speaking of hugs, let's give me a hug, everybody. No, speaking of hugs,
virtual hug.
He clarifies here. You know, he's like, "Yeah, I'm holding for General Hugs," and then he says, "Hugs with an H." He's like, "Hugs with an H," and while it's funny, it's also reopens the can of worms. And again, we'll say I think this is things are being kind of translated into what we'll understand the best, you know, because they're not all speaking English. And so in the pattern of this being translated, just like with X-Wings and Y-Wings and A-Wings and B-Wings and stuff like that, that's why he doesn't say hugs with a Herf. Because
if you listen to him in the original Arabesh, he does say that.
You say, hugs with a Herf.
Hugs meeting the Herf.
With a Herf. Hugs with a Herf. Yeah, it's a bringing up the alphabet is always dicey in Star Wars.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
Here again, I'm still on board. I think it's funny.
Do you think that at some point when this story is going on that Pablo Hidalgo or somebody says, "Okay, listen, I know this is an annoying, nitpicky thing, but do you want to mention,
right?
Do you want to mention real Earth letters?" And they're just like, "Oh, who cares?" Or does no one even bring it up?
I mean, I think their work is mostly after the fact. So it's their job to kind of mop up, you know, and be like, well, I guess they mentioned letters, so we got to try to figure out what. But I think, you know, the accepted idea of, you know, this being translated into Earth English for us, although it does make me wonder what. I would like to see the other translations of this into Earth languages.
I see what you mean. Well, I assume they just substitute whatever letter the name,
I guess so.
You know.
But what do they? You know, because hugs doesn't sound like hug. You know, like other words for hugs don't sound like hucks. And if they're already referring to them as hucks, they'd have to. I want to go back and I should have done that for this minute. Remind me that for next week, or for a weekend show.
To check out the if there are other translations, if they
I'm going to look at the other languages and figure out what they say here, because like hugs and hucks only sound alike presumably in English.
They probably just substitute another word that sounds similar in whatever the language is. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I want to find out what
hucks and hugs is especially funny because hugs is so the opposite of what the First Order is, so it's an especially good pun in English.
Oh,
so
TLJ foreign language dubs. What pun context was used for Poe's General Hugs joke?
Wow.
Let's see. 42 comments. Sort by best. In Danish, we don't dub foreign movies unless they're cartoons, so the subtitles read General Cox. Cox is slang word for when things go wrong. Like you'd say, I screwed up would be Jeg koksade I det. I can't. Pardon my Danish. Let's see. The French dub
Certainly
kept the
General
English.
Cox would have been a whole different level to it of puns they could have done.
French dub kept the English pronunciation for Hux's name, so Poe says Hux like a French person would read it.
Ox, General Ox.
In the, let's see, English with Spanish subtitles, Poe calls him General Ugh, which is weird, as it's referring to the word in English. Ugh isn't really an expression in Spanish.
Like a caveman.
And in the dubbed version, Poe says General Palidox, combining the words palido, pale, and hux.
Huh.
In Hungarian, they picked the second one. At first, I wasn't even sure what Poe was doing. They picked the second one, meaning did they just play it as Poe pretending to have a bad connection to go to hux?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's always the... it's all dubbed, so it's not like you have to bother lip-syncing it with anything.
In
Russian...
In Russian, they left it out and just went with Hux, but in Ukrainian, they used a word that I'm not going. I would have to bleep myself out if I said it, but it basically translates into general facts, which is kind of funny.
FAX or FACTS?
FAX.
Okay. General facts.
General facts. I love it. In Italian, too. In Italian, Hux is pronounced Hax to begin with, so in the dub, Poe calls him General Fax, which is also, they call a fax a fax even in Italy. So,
well, that's even weirder that they use fax, because that's even more specific to Earth technology.
Yeah. In traditional Chinese, Hux was translated phonetically as He Si, and Poe's mocking name, Hugs, was translated as Ho Si, where Ho was spelled as the word that means monkey. So it's keeping with the general idea of mocking Hux. So he's kind of
the general idea.
Monkey.
Did you know the word Hux in Chinese means both general and opportunity? Well, so speaking of language,
sure.
Captain Peavy says, "I believe he's tooling with you."
Yes.
So tooling with is also another weird.
Is that something that you've heard said on Earth? He's tooling with you?
Well, I've heard I can't think of specific examples, but obviously from the context it makes sense. Then, in English, tool can mean something in a more pejorative sense.
Right.
I don't know.
Like I know what it means. I know what they've said, but I don't. Are
you looking in Wikipedia for tooling?
No, I'm. Yeah.
I wonder what tooling means. Does tooling mean like messing?
Right.
I mean, obviously we know what it means in the context, but like what specifically? Like if someone says, "Oh, dude, he's just messing with you," that's different than, "Oh, dude, he's just breaking." There's different subtleties to it.
Right.
So, maybe it comes from droids, like, oh, you're tinkering around and using them like a puppet, sort of. You're manipulating them by like putting tools into their.
He's tooling with you.
Yeah.
Or if you've heard that, you listeners, viewers, if you've heard somebody say tooling with you on Earth,
give us a call.
Let us know, because I've never heard it.
Do we still have 8-Day Greedo going this season?
We do. I haven't checked it in a little bit, but we could bring it back for this season. Make it up and running. Sure.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Now this one I know you're not gonna like.
Oh boy.
When Poe says, "Oh, it's a message about his mother." Now come on.
About his mother.
So Leia's my mother. So surely that one is too far. Making your mother joke.
I guess. Wait, wasn't that not the first? Didn't we have a your mother joke in Rogue One? Or was that?
Oh, did we?
Didn't we? I feel like that came up somehow. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Or was it in Force Awakens? I feel like it was somewhere that there was a kind of your mama joke in Star Wars previously, but it's not it's not necessarily earthy. It's just, most people would be, the idea is there that you would be offended if somebody was, attacking verbally or otherwise your mother.
My mother.
I don't know. It doesn't really bother me that much.
But how does Poe even know about Hux's mother? Like, what possible message could he be conveying?
Well, he's not. It's all a joke. He's tooling with you.
Oh, I get it
See?
now. Okay,
Yeah.
now it makes more sense. Well, I promised this week that I would have some more information on our friend the Dreadnought, a.k.a.
Okay.
Fulminatrix.
Sure.
So, here we go. Length. This is an impressive one. 7,699 meters. That is 25,163 feet.
Okay. What is that in Enterprise?
Also known 27 classic Enterprises.
Wow.
So that's a big ship.
That is.
I think the Dreadnought, is taller than the Enterprise. It would take like 3 Enterprises just to get to the height of the Dreadnought. You know what I mean? Like if you arrange them
Right.
facing
Top.
upwards.
Oh, wow. Tall.
Not like stacked, but like, yeah. So go crazy, huh? It frustrates me that we never really get a good shot of the Dreadnought. Like, I don't know what its back looks like or anything.
Can't. I'm trying to think of it. Like, you hate to see it go, but you love to watch it leave, or something like that. The Dreadnought.
Yes, I love to watch it jump to hyperspace.
Yeah.
Yes, the classic Enterprise is 947 feet or 288 meters. Have you noticed that now that you're doing ABCDTOS? Like, are you like, boy, that ship seems tiny?
Relatively, in the grand scheme of things, but it's always interesting to see how many, we talk a lot about the size of the crew versus the size of the ship. So,
right. And in the original series, I'm going to start getting into Star Trek.
Well, yeah.
They didn't have family members on board. It was just military personnel in the original one.
Some, I don't know.
Really?
Depending on what the story they needed to tell.
That's true.
That's who was there.
On board the Fulminatrix, you'll find 53,000 Imperial officers. It's the place you want to be, Pete. 140,000 enlisted troops and 51,000 stormtroopers. I wonder what the difference is between stormtroopers and enlisted. Obviously, they're not enlisted; they're slave labor. But like 51,000 stormtroopers versus 140,000 enlisted people.
I think
Seems
those would just be
surprising
like
to me.
your scanning crew.
Scanning crews,
Those,
cooks,
maintenance.
maintenance guys, droid repairs,
Let's repair robots.
droid
yeah,
managers.
All those guys. Your Imperials who are not necessarily Imperial officers. Imperial privates. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. That seems like a lot of. Well, also, I guess we don't know where did these enlisted people live? Like,
Right.
where were they? Where they're like, hey, you know what? The First Order seems like a good thing. I should join that.
Well,
If they were out in the hidden, lost space or whatever, but who knows?
you think they recruited from other shows?
Exactly, the original, not the
Right.
Netflix remake.
They didn't get Joey Tribbiani.
In the much missed cartoon series Resistance, they did an episode where you saw the wreckage of the Dreadnought. That they explored the wreckage of it somewhere. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so it does appear somewhere else.
Of this particular Dreadnought, the Fulminatrix?
The Fulminatrix, yeah. So, an interesting. Almost makes me want to check it out. So my last thing is that Poe refers to Hux as pasty and skinny.
Right.
And I was wondering how he knew that. Did he watch that broadcast of him being like, "We're gonna destroy the galaxy"?
Didn't they meet up in Force Awakens? Wasn't he when Poe was a prisoner?
Oh, did he?
Or did they not interact there?
I don't feel like he did because we saw him being questioned by Ben Solo, and then he gets sprung. I don't know if Hux ever talked to him, but I'm sure someone's yelling at us right now about it.
Right.
Sorry if we messed it up.
Well, I don't know. I might assume that they would, I don't know,
They
know
would've met.
about each other somewhat. You know what I mean?
It's not a huge deal. I'm just curious if how famous. It's almost like the question of how famous is Darth Vader in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
Like how well known is Hux in the
Never as famous as Vader, and it bugs him.
Drives him crazy.
I wanted to note that the when Poe flies in, we get that cool kind of afterburner thing that we don't see. That wasn't really on the old X-wings. I wonder if that's an aftermarket thing that Poe just has on his, or if that's like everybody, all these new X-wings have that boost. But then he flies through and he's attacking the dreadnought and kind of taking out the turrets in a way that seemed to me somewhat reminiscent of the Star Wars arcade game.
Yeah.
One of the levels in the Star Wars arcade game where you're just kind of flying around the outside of the Death Star.
Yeah.
Attacking, taking out turrets.
About
so
20 of them, I think.
That made me, there were 20 guns somewhere on the surface, but somewhere on the towers. That you, I don't know, it put me in that a little bit, which I liked. And then at the very kind of end of this minute, we get a good close-up of Poe's eyes as stuff is going on. There's you notice that it's not just because he's a handsome man, but you kind of, I don't know, I feel like that's a view that we don't get, and it made me this will be my first note. I don't know if we're going to ascribe everything to him, because some of this might have been, second unit, pickup shots, whatever else, but wanted to make my first note about the cinematographer Steve Yedlin, because this this movie is one of the things that I remember about it is how it kind of looks and feels, and that's a lot of that is art design, but also a lot of that is the cinematography, and this is one of the if not the most beautiful Star Warses to look at.
I thought you meant that shot specifically, the shot of his eyes.
Of just Poe's eyes, yeah. Poe's eyes.
Moss Eisley Spaceport.
But yeah, it's a thing to kind of note, as we said. We talked about a little bit of kind of the expanding idea of what is and what isn't Star Wars. And, I was very vocal. I don't know if I kind of used I don't know if I pinned it down to the cinematographer particularly at the time. Maybe I blamed Richard Marquand more, but just the look of Return of the Jedi being that kind of flat, video look, and it could very well have been that they were
like a TV movie,
and it could very well have been that they knew that at that point that things were going, this is going to be watched on home video a lot, so we might as well make it viewable in that format, essentially, like where it's they may have been conscious of it, and I don't know. I feel like other the prequels don't stand out for their cinematography because everything other than for a weird lack of depth, because they were, experimenting in new film technology that didn't really lead to a lot of they were doing most of the construction of scenes in post-production, it seems like. And so with these new films, we're getting a kind of our first real new look at the way that Star Wars looks and feels. And Force Awakens was fine. Rogue One was beautiful, and this one is also beautiful. And this one is, I think, a little more artsy than Rogue One. Rogue One was very good. And beautiful to look at in different ways. It was a little more kind of, sprawling. And I feel like this has more kind of like set art shots. The mise en scène is magnifique. But this is my first note of it. So that close up on Poe's eyes, I feel like it's not something that we've had much of. We don't see like tight on the eyes of anybody to kind of focus on what they're doing. We'll see their full, anytime we see Rebel pilots, we see the full cockpit behind them. And when people are focusing, we don't even. I can't think of times, even like the Emperor was never just fully just like tight on his eyes.
Yeah.
is always like his face in there. And I can't think of other shot of this is where everybody sends us the screenshots of like, oh, obviously we were, close up on Max Rebo's eyes when he wailed that solo. But
I feel like something like it might have happened in the lightsaber battle with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I feel like there was an eye close up in that one. But again, I could be wrong. I do think this is the best looking, definitely of the modern movie. But no, I'll go so far as to say that it's, I think, one of the best looking. I think it's the best looking Star Wars movie. Whatever its flaws, I don't think I think the art, the cinematography and stuff is top notch. So, I mean, I could think of a couple of like iconic shots, like Luke, facing off against the Imperial walkers, the First Order walkers. Sorry, I'm just thinking that's how memorable it was. That even not after rewatching it, I can still think of shots in my head. That, not to mention that great lightsaber battle that against the Praetorian guards.
The look and feel of this movie is very good.
Yeah,
and this is my first kind of note about that, because it's the first time that I was like, oh, that's something kind of new to Star Wars. But yeah, I don't know. That's where we're at. I think that was my last note for this. Arcade game and Steve Yedlin. Yedlin? Somebody tell me if I'm mispronouncing that.
Median, it's pronounced. I looked up, here's a bit of, this is stuff I had for earlier in the week, but didn't really get to. Ryan Johnson watched 5 different movies to try to get 6 different movies to try to get him in the mood for this movie.
Okay.
Those movies were, you tell me if you've seen them or not.
Okay.
To Catch a Thief.
I don't believe I've seen To Catch a Thief, no.
Nor have I. 12 O'Clock High. I've not seen
3 O'Clock High.
No, that one I have seen. Did you see 12 O'Clock High?
I don't, but there was a bunch of movies that I saw in class in college that I don't remember which was what.
Bridge on the River Kwai?
Love it. One of my favorites all time.
I've seen.
Yeah.
With Obi-Wan himself. Gunga Din?
I know of it, and I've seen bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing.
Letter Never Sent? Never heard of that one.
I don't think I've even heard of that one, no.
Sahara. And The Three Outlaw Samurai. I think of those, I've only seen Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah.
So
same.
That's interesting, because I like the fact that it's not obviously none of these are Star Wars films. So it's not like he said, I'm going to sit down and watch all the Star Wars movies and then write. I mean, I'm sure he did watch all the Star Wars movies also.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people would have only watched the Star Wars movies and then not tried to bring in any other outside influences.
Again, this comparison will keep coming up. Because we can learn from what's happened in comics with what's happening in Star Wars, and that comics went through a kind of reinvigoration of sorts when these kind of new blood took over and they were doing fun stuff. But it turns out that their main once you pass through that first batch, then you got people who are making comics whose only frame of reference is comics, and we don't want that, and so.
Right.
That, I'm glad that he's mainly drawing from other stuff in addition to doing that, which I think a lot of the people who are making Star Wars stuff now are doing that, but I feel like we're going to get into a little cycle soon where people are only clinging to Star Wars. And
well, I remember when Force Awakens came out, there were some I guess, criticism of that, because they were saying that when the first Star Wars came out, it had a bunch, it is influenced by Westerns and samurai movies and all these different, Flash Gordon and stuff. But now everything's just influenced by Star Wars. Star Wars has been the Flash Gordon samurai movies Western for the past 30 years. So 50 years almost. So, I think it's good to, bring in some outside sources besides just Star Wars.
Right. We need people who like Star Wars, but it's not all they're about. So, we would be terrible candidates No, we like other things.
Yeah, we totally like other things.
I know.
I mean, some people say we don't like Star Wars enough. We don't know enough about Star Wars. We don't know. We couldn't even tell you anything about that episode where the wreckage of the Phantasmagorica showed up. We didn't. So
The Wreckage of the Phantasmagorica.
my favorite Gordon Lightfoot number.
Yeah.
Gordon Spacefoot. My last note is that so Ryan Johnson wrote the script for this, and according to Snap Wexley himself, Greg Grunberg, J.J. Abrams so loved the script that he regretted not directing The Last Jedi. So that's an
Once
interesting.
again, I would like to go see that script. I would like to see the script. I will, as soon as it is humanly safe and possible to do so, I will be making a trek to find the script.
So yeah. And I guess also this movie, obviously, we don't have to tell you guys, was somewhat controversial.
Well, I don't know if it's real controversy or manufactured controversy, but it certainly did lead to a split, a bifurcation of sorts, in at least the vocal online fan base behind Star Wars.
I'm a history nerd, as I probably mentioned a million times, and there's a period in American history called the Era of Good Feelings.
I thought you were going to say there's a period of civil war.
There was a period of civil war,
Yeah.
but this is before that, the Era of Good Feelings, which basically meant that one of the political parties had withered away, so there was really only one political party. There was very little. So I felt like almost like The Force Awakens and Rogue One were the era of good feelings, where we're all just kind of like, oh, look, we're all just happy Star Wars is back, and the anthology movies also seem like they're going to be cool. And then I feel like with Last Jedi, that was almost like the start of the sort of like,
Right.
divisiveness that would continue from that point forward. You know what I mean? Like movies from here on out were people had some strong reactions to it, both positive and negative. So it'll be interesting watching us straddle that line.
Are we Star Wars Whigs? Are we Star Wars Federalists? What's the?
Yeah, I don't know what we are. We're I guess we'd be Federalists if we were. Anyway,
we're Star Wars Bull Moose. That's what we are.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else? Anything else left to talk about?
I don't think so. We said hugs with a Herf, but other than that, I think we got everything down.
Well, then I'm going to say we wrap up this episode, but that doesn't mean we're not going to talk tomorrow on our first Patreon episode of the new season.
Oh, that's true.
What do you think we'll be talking about this week? Any guesses?
Who knows what the future brings?
Always in motion. So, so if you want to hear us talk about that, go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. We have how many episodes, back episodes? Over 200?
On Patreon, yeah. I close to 300 at this point.
Yeah, so if you sign up now, you got a lot of digging back there. You can listen to you can contrast our opinions now with our opinions back when we actually watched The Last Jedi. Point out all our hypocrisy and how we changed our mind about things and how we're flip-flopping. And you can hear more of our opinions on the next Star Wars Minute.